related to any of these people.
You're my daughter, so you are part of this family, okay?
Dear Jesus, I reckon you've been testing us with this drought here. But we know there's many folks struggling in ways greater than ours. What are you doing? Man, why you gotta be such a scaredy cat?
Hi, Celine and Logan, how are you doing? Nice to speak to you. Thanks very much for speaking to me.
Yeah, no, we're excited.
So obviously, with times of the essence, we've got 5 minutes. So I literally, I don't want. Obviously, there's so many spoilers. So it's probably better that it's just a brief interview, so they won't get into any spoilers because there's so many twists and turns. But congratulations, man, it's fantastic. So I mean, just like a general question. About 10 years, I spoke to one director who he filmed a film that was set in a cave and about some cavers who got lost.
Yeah.
And he said that he came up with the idea. Actually, he went and sat in these caves that really exist in Formentera. And he sat there with his recording device, and he just sat there and came up with an idea for the film. And then I was reading that it was a similar kind of process for you. I think that you sort of photograph, and you decided instantly that you wanted to go and visit this place and see what inspiration you could get from that. Is that how it came to be, this project?
Exactly right.
Pretty much.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So how was how do you go from seeing a photograph and then kind of reaching this land, and then where does that idea come from?
Yeah. Well, we drove down to see the lake firsthand after being so arrested by the image, and we lived off the lake for a couple months writing the first draft of the film. So
that was really bad. It was a really
terrible
bad
first draft. Yeah, but you meet all the the local people that live off the lake, and you're taking these boat tours out every day, so you find locations, and you can't help but be influenced by you sort of just like living and breathing it. And so the story's built from the ground up, like from that location.
But where did the actual, sorry, I was just going to say that the actual narrative, I mean, you said that it wasn't a great first script. So where did this narrative come from that you were like, right, this will work where we are in this setting?
Well, we were thinking a lot about, it was COVID, it was 2020, and we were thinking a lot about our parents. Logan's mom had passed away in 2019.
Yes. And so Celine was like, she told me months later, about these stories that my mom had told her during a conversation, these memories of my mom. And I was like, well, I never heard that story. Like, what? It didn't even sound like my mom. And I was like, wait, this. And so it brought up this notion of like, how well do you really know your parents? They lived this whole life before you were born. And can you ever really like come in contact with that and understand them fully, this other life before your birth? And so I think that we were sort of swimming in these ideas about that, and generations of families and not being able to see ours because of COVID. And so it was sort of that infused with the location of the lake that built the narrative. And we, the first draft was just wrong because the puzzle pieces just were put in the wrong spot.
It was only one character versus two main characters. We came back to Brooklyn, and we got out a whiteboard, and we cracked it.
Yeah.
And it took a bit, but we, it was about being on the lake, what we thought the lake could do. So much of it is unexplored out there. So much of it is
we got lost many times, like just going out in our kayaks, and there's all these, there's all this mythos around the lake itself and folklore that it really lent itself towards the sort of genre mechanism of the story. But like, there's this human, core underneath.
I mean, you said you kind of got lost and lost yourself out there, but at the same time, it must have really kind of helped you find yourself, especially for you, Logan, because I'm sorry about the loss of your mother. It must have been very cathartic in a way, because you were kind of realizing things that maybe you didn't know about your parents or your mother or your father, and you were able to speak to your partner about it and kind of maybe in a way get closer to them, no? Even though you lost one of your family.
Yeah,
no?
I think, well, yeah, just like the death of a parent changes you, in so many ways. And it can happen at any time, in your life, but you're different afterwards. And I think you can't help but have it sort of trickle through, your art, and the way that you operate and, are creative going forward. So it's not the film is not like this like complete dissection. It's very, very different from my mom and her life and my relationship to her, but it certainly informed the themes that we were exploring in a big way.
But being on the lake, we were living in a 250 square foot studio at the time, and being able to drive down to Texas and live off of this place, it was super cathartic, I think, for both of us at that point in our lives during COVID.
They're giving them up. So just to finish off then, obviously talking of family, someone that's almost like family to you now is M. Night Shyamalan, because you worked on various projects with him, and he's exec producing this. Was he involved in any of the, I mean, there's so many twists that I can't give away. Was he kind of involved in helping you kind of create the twists and tell you how far to push those twists and how to reel them in?
We gave him a fully realized script that had all of that in there, but he has a brilliant way of being able to articulate problems and what needs to change so that the audience can register those twists and be one-to-one with an audience, so that you're having the greatest emotional, impact and payoff at any given moment. So he was super influential.
Yeah, a lot of those twists, he read it and he was like, wait, so this is what happened? And we were like, yeah. And he said, well, your audience needs to get that.
Yeah.
And so we had to rewrite to make sure that our audience understood it.
Yeah.
Well, it works really well. The final product is fantastic. I loved it to bits. Listen, we're out of time. I could ask you a million questions. Thank you so much for your time. I wish you the best of luck when it comes out next week, and I hope to speak to you again sometime soon.
Thanks, Howard.
Thank you so much.
Nice to speak to you. Take care. Have a nice day.
This is my sister's. Tell me where you got this.